Hey guys, Chris Peach here, and welcome to the Money Peach podcast. Hey, do you remember growing up learning how to handle money? Yeah, neither do I. So that's why we're here today, to make your money fun again. You know, we're going to talk about the principles in life that actually matter when it comes to managing your money in a way that works. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Money Peach podcast. Before we jump into another amazing episode of the Money Peach podcast, I want to take a second to talk to you guys about my free live training event, Stop Living Paycheck to Paycheck and Just Live. Join me each week on this live webinar where I show you the 4-step system we use to go from living paycheck to paycheck to later paying off $52,000 in debt in only 7 months. And as a bonus for joining me on this live training, I'll be answering any questions you may have during the live Q&A session at the end. So head on over to moneypeach.com/webinar to get registered. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Money Peach podcast. I'm Chris Peach. This is episode 58. Now, on the show today, I'm bringing on my good friends, Eric and Tami Hefferon. They own Impact Physical Therapy here in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, I met Eric and Tami through CrossFit because I was doing the weekend warrior thing where I'd go in on the weekends, I wouldn't stretch, I'd try to deadlift as much weight as possible, hurt my back, and I'd be on their table getting the dry needling, getting the suction, and all that other stuff. We were going to talk about that, but the reason why I wanted to bring Eric and Tami on is they have an incredible story. They started Impact Physical Therapy from the ground up, talk about starting a business while being in debt with student loans, and how to start a business when you're married to the co-founder, the co-owner of your business. So we talk about a lot. They throw a lot at us. These people are absolutely brilliant. Excited to have them on the show to share with us some tips, tricks, ideas, things that you should know before starting any type of business. So without further ado, let me bring on my good friends, Eric and Tami Hefferon from Impact Physical Therapy. Alrighty, super excited to have my good friends Tami and Eric Hefferon from Impact Physical Therapy. Been friends with you guys for a couple years now, watched your business grow, and I have wanted you to come on the podcast and share your story. And then in the last month, you have another adventure inside your business, and I said, okay, this is going to be perfect timing to talk about what's going on in your business, talk about the wins, the losses, and everything in between. So again, thank you for taking an hour of your day to come on the show, hanging out with us, and share your story.
Hey, thanks so much, Peach. Just love everything that you've been doing and just how our relationship's grown on a professional and personal level. So thanks so much, man. Super excited to be here.
Yep, right back at you.
We've definitely grown in a professional relationship because I keep freaking getting hurt all the time. I cannot, every time I go lift a weight.
Stretch those hips, man.
I know, I got some bad hips. They say I have a giddy up. So I walk like my dad, and I come in here and you guys are like, you're broken. And I am. Ankle. It's my ankle, it's my back, it's everything. So I'm in here quite a bit. It's that CrossFit. So going back though, tell me a little bit about you, Eric. Where did you get started? We're in your office now. We're going to put pictures of your office inside the show notes, but we're here in your office. You and Tami now have Impact Physical Therapy, 2 locations, but I want to back way up and just kind of give us a little example of, or not example, a history of where did you come from? How did you get here? Where did you start?
No, thanks, Chris. Well, I won't back up too far, but I'll back up to college. I'm from Oregon, so I went to high school and college there. Went to a small school called Linfield College in McMinnville, Oregon. I played basketball there and was an exercise science major. I always loved the sciences, always knew that I wanted to work to help people and work with my hands and work with athletes, but never knew really kind of what I wanted to do. And I didn't really like the medical model in the sense of kind of the medication component and prescribing. And just as an athlete, I was injured multiple times, so it was cool to actually go through physical therapy. So I did some summer jobs and really liked it. In fact, one of my early mentors, Todd Walton, owned a physical therapy clinic in a big gym, uniquely enough. It was called Walton Physical Therapy, and it was inside this place called Club Sport. And my buddy Louie got injured there, and a summer job, I got to go over there and kind of hang out. And I was like, I want to be like him when I grow up. Like, I want a clinic. I want to do something similar to what he's doing, and just working with athletes. So I was very, really actually inspired at that time, and didn't actually know that I was going to actually end up doing the similar thing later on. But one of my best friends and I moved down to Arizona because we both got into PT school. I thought, hey, man, I'm an Oregon boy. I'm going to move back to Oregon once I'm done with school. And there's no way I'm staying down here. I think it was probably a week into school, and my buddy and I are just screwing around in the back of the class, and the therapeutic exercise teacher says, hey, we have this third-year student, Tami, that's going to help out with our class. And I see her, and she's walking down in like these high heels down the aisle and to the front of the class.
By the way.
And I was like, dude, check this girl out, man. Like, who is that? And so all of a sudden, I got definitely interested, and I was like, I got to meet her. Like, next thing you know, like, I didn't do very well on my first exam in PT school, and I was like, oh, crap, man. Like, this is my first exam, and I'm already effing up, and, I'm like, is this the way it's going to go? It might be pretty brutal, but there was like a remediation, like a tutor session, but it was with Tami. And I was like, hey, this actually isn't too bad. So I got to go sit with her for an hour, and we kind of discussed, what happened on the test, and I got to kind of know her a little bit. And then she was holding like this open lab once a week to kind of go over stretching techniques. And I was telling my buddy Ryan, I said, hey man, I'm going to go to that class and, get some extra sessions in. And he was like, dude, whatever. You're just trying to like get with the TA, the teacher's assistant. And I was like, no, man, I really need some help. I need to learn how to do these stretches. And he's like, whatever, man, you're so full of crap. So next thing you know, like, we hit it off and, invite her to hang out. And the unique thing is that my best friend, who is my roommate, who moved down with us to Arizona, actually married her roommate, Crystal, who's also a PT, and they have 2 kids in Gilbert area. So it's just a small story, and that's kind of how Tami and I ended up. And then now we have 2 amazing children, and my mom moved down from Oregon, and her parents live here, and we have impact, and we're definitely here to stay. I'm not moving back to Oregon. She's suckered me into staying here, but super happy, and just excited to tell you more about impact and maybe give you Tami's. I don't know if you want Tami's perspective on the whole thing or not.
So my version, I love that story. I didn't know that exact story, so I'm glad you shared it. My version of how I met my wife is much different than the version that she shares. I feel like I walked into this room and there was like this glow around me, and she just was like, she saw me in the corner and said, that's my man. And she'll tell you a different story.
Right.
So I want to hear from Tami to see if that is pretty accurate or if there's like a 90% accuracy there.
Sure. Here you go.
Yeah. So I remember that tutoring session, that first one, and Eric was actually like touching my leg, and I was like, who is this guy touching my leg right now? But I was like, why am I not moving my leg away? Like, I should probably move my leg away, but I didn't do that. And then throughout the sessions, he would stay after and that kind of thing. And it was the last week that I was there, and we'll just say that he was in Scottsdale and I was not, probably having a few beverages and texting and like, you're the only girl and I want to be with you. And
so. This is so awesome. I'm so glad we're going there. This is awesome.
I was like, all right, well, I guess we'll see how this goes. So we started dating, and a few months in, I was like, I just want you to know, like, I'm never moving to Oregon. Like, I won't do that. I grew up in Arizona, and we're going really strong, but I just want to be fair to you. Like, if that's really where you want to be, I just can't do that. So, and he was like, oh, all right. And by the way, I'm going to move to California. And he was like, okay, we'll make it work. And I was like, whoa, wow, okay. So, but that's just kind of who he's been throughout our life together, is this steadfast and very confident with who he is and what he wants. And I'd say that holds true in our family life and in our professional life too. So here we are.
There's 3 sides to every story, so I'm glad we got the 2.
That's right.
All right, perfect. Okay, so when I met you, Eric, all right, I'm going to say this was at the CrossFit gym. That's where I meet everybody. Great place if you're a physical therapist to go find some future clients, because we are terrible at our stretching and our movements. We're always getting hurt. And so you come to the CrossFit gym, and I remember we were doing like wall balls one day, and I was asking what you do, and you were like, oh, I'm a physical therapist at a place nearby. I'm like, oh, okay, and that was kind of it. That's kind of where you ended it. And so take me through, I think it's really interesting how you went from, both of you guys were working in corporate America, right? You guys were working for someone else, not for yourself. Yeah. And what was that like it was a steady paycheck, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have a steady paycheck. You know that every single week or every 2 weeks, something's coming in, pay your mortgage. You got 2 kids. Life's pretty comfortable. I remember you telling me one time, I forget we were talking, but you're talking about, like student loans for physical therapists are outrageous. I mean, horrible. And so I remember before we hit record on this interview, you were telling me a little bit about how you realized at that moment that, you know what, if we want to stay working for someone else, we are never going to pay these loans off in the time that we're comfortable with. So kind of take me from that point forward.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, there's just different callings that sometimes happen and things that happen in your life. And like you said, we're comfortable. We just had a steady paycheck. For me, it didn't really...
Remember we had the QX56. So we were kind of living large. Like I was working big corporate America. He was doing great. And we were both like pretty comfortable traveling and owning nice fancy cars.
So I will say, if you listen to this podcast long enough, you will find your car for sale. Because it does happen, right? I've heard listeners say, like, I had a QX56 too, and now I drive a Toyota Corolla from 1994.
Yeah, so we saw that, and we were like, hey, we got to figure out our finances. But, like she was saying, we're comfortable. We had comfortable jobs. Most people would actually just probably stay there. And most people do, right? They just stay there through their whole life. And it's a level of comfort. And for us, it was average or is above average. But I think that, we just wanted more than that. I think, certain things happened in my job. And I always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit and wanted to just know that, like, the amount of work that I put in, I felt like that I could reap the benefits of that, and the procedures and certain things that were going on. I felt like I could do a better job. And just having Tami on my side and her as a physical therapist too, I just knew that we could be a good dynamic power and duo, and just with the right opportunities, we could do that. I think I'm glad that we did, and that we have impact now. And it's a little scary, obviously, at the beginning, because we have 2 children, we have a comfortable paycheck. Are we going to give all that up for this dream, for this risk, that we're going to go into? I think just knowing that we were good at what we did, 1, 2, that we could always make money, that even if we got into the situation where we started the business, we could always do some side gig to, pick up some extra funds to be able to do that. And that's actually how we actually started. I had a side job that I was able to supplement our income. And I only had that actually for 2 weeks. It was more of like a security blanket, knowing like, hey, I had this second job just in case, impact is really slow. But what I was finding was when I was working for this other company on the side, that impact was already taking off. And I would rather put all my energy and effort into impact than even give a little bit, 25% to somebody else. So
when you said you were working a side hustle, were you doing physical therapy on the side?
Yeah, it was just physical therapy. Yeah.
Kind of like a fill-in?
Yeah, it was a fill-in.
It was a totally different setting. So I think that's kind of key to know. It wasn't like we were competing with ourselves.
Sure.
It was a rehab facility.
Okay, so you weren't helping out your competitor.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay,
yeah.
So Eric, you had said that you basically left your job. You did, not basically, you did. You left your job, had the side hustle thing on the side just in case. It's kind of like a little safety net, but you were really jumping out there because you're leaving your income.
Totally.
Right? Tami, what did you do during this transition?
Yeah, it was kind of like this unique time in our life. I think a few months before, I had quit my corporate America job, and
which was at a hospital, right?
It was at a hospital. I was the director, so I was over like 250 employees. I was making good money, but it just wasn't really for my soul, and working really hard and not really serving our family, and I wasn't really that happy. And we talked about it. I took like a $35,000 pay cut to go into academia. So I switched. And so now I'm a professor at Franklin Pierce University. So switched into that. So I was there. And then Eric had done a great job, really, really doing his homework and his research on opening a business. And we were going to do that traditional model of physical therapy. You open a 2,000 square foot space. You take out a $200,000, $250,000 loan. I mean, Eric had like the budget. He had everything down. He had the number of people we had to see. And I don't know I don't really remember how it started, but I had seen several people just kind of on the side for cash. And they had no problem paying me $90. Just, here you go. And I just remember we were laying in bed one night, and Eric came home, and he had seen 36 patients in one day. He's like, Tam, I don't remember actually 4 of the people. Like, I don't actually remember saying hi or seeing them. And we were both like, what? That is not the model we want. We want to build relationships. We want to affect people long-term in their health and their wellness. And we actually want to treat people that want to move. And so it was it was really kind of a little bit scary at that point because we were taking his almost 6-figure salary. My 6-figure salary was gone at that point. But then saying, this is what's worth it for us and our quality of life and what we want to show our kids, what we believe in and who we want to be in life. So,
wow, that's, you hear that story. I mean, so listening and, I wish people listening could see your faces because you could see like you're like reliving that as you're sharing that story. I think it's incredible because it's so difficult to leave a comfortable 6-figure salary where you show up and even on a bad day you're still going to get paid.
Still getting paid, and you have great benefits, and you have you
have it all, right? You have what they say, quote unquote, the American dream, but it wasn't for you.
No, and I think part of it was just we do value our quality of life so much, right? And so the ability to not only have a profession that we love and the ability to connect with people like you, right? Like I've had the experience. I get to treat you. I actually just told our front office, you're one of the, few people that I'll actually put on my schedule and keep you,
well, thank you.
Yeah. So it was taking to that leap in ourselves as a couple and as a marriage and saying like, this is what's going to make my husband happy. This is what's going to make us happy overall. Despite concerns from our family, like, I'd say our parents they were all teachers. His mom, my parents were teachers. And so that, talk about a steady salary. We had a lot of people concerned for our welfare going forward in the best of intentions and kind of like, are you guys sure you're going to do this? And I remember he started with one patient in this spot and we had nothing in here. We literally had one treatment table and that's it. And some random equipment from Underground storing in here. Underground Fitness is who we sublease from right now.
Okay, so I want to talk about how you guys networked with that. But one thing that you said, Eric, that I think is really, really important is, so a couple, I think it was episode 49, we had Lisa Peterson on. She talks about this stool and has 3 legs. And the legs are health, wealth, and relationships. And she's like, you need all 3. Everybody needs all 3. If you're missing one, the stool tips over and you have nothing. And so I like what you had said that, look, we're making good money. Wealth, check that one, right? You're making good money. You're healthy, right? You're going to work. You're healthy. Wealth or health is good. But your relationships, right? You had 36 patients in a day and you felt like, I don't remember seeing 4 of these people. And I don't want to go entire career just, treating numbers. I want to treat people. I want to get to know them. I want to know their families. And so from being a customer of yours now for the last 2 years, that's one thing that I didn't realize I've gained until you just said that is like you leave and you don't feel like a number. You feel like, hey, I know you, I know your family, I know your kids, I know where they're at. You're not going to get that seeing 36 patients a day, that come in and out, which I think is, so everybody that does very, very well that I've interviewed over the last year now, they have a very common theme is they see something that's normal and they see a problem with it. And they go, how could I make this better? Right? How can I make this better? And then they actually take action. And I think that the 20% of people out there will identify what they are doing and what they don't like about it. And then there's a small portion that will actually do something about it. Right? And you did. You did, which is scary.
Yeah.
I mean, holy crap, it's scary, right? We just talked about that. But one of the things that we had talked about before we hit record was how important networking and relationship building is inside your business. Now we talk about those 3 stools. It's health, wealth, and relationships. So not just in your life, but in your business. Share a little bit about how building those relationships, networking, what it's done for your business.
Absolutely. I mean, I think just being active and, I read a lot of books and Grant Cardone, he just says 10X and just, really just networking and taking action is the most important thing. I mean, think about how many times in a day you just think about something, but you don't actually act. It actually takes more energy thinking about it than actually probably doing the act. So I think that's important. Just putting myself out there. I went to the CrossFit gym, networking with different people that we, hang out with. And I think it's easy. Part of it's easy because we truly believe in it and it's just a part of who we are. So I mean, even before we started Impact, we would always just rep physical therapy, even if we were at a dinner and somebody was like, hey, I got my bad back. Hey, did you know you should do this? So I think the nice thing about it is just it runs, through our blood that we just believe in health and wellness and physical therapy. So it's easy as we're out in the community. But, just a couple quick stories, part of how we found Underground Fitness and how we connected with them is a couple years.
So real quick, before we go any further, explain Underground Fitness for those of us that don't know.
Yeah, so Underground Fitness is a private training studio. So they see clients one-on-one for an hour in like small groups. And they have multiple locations throughout the valley. One right here in the Citadel in Glendale, Arizona. Another one actually next to our other location too in Greyhawk. So yeah, they're a private training studio. And I started with them, actually working out with them, I think about 2 years or so before I went to Incendia. Got to know the owner really well. Scott Carpenter and I just kind of hit it off, and he trained me, and I always just had that network, that connection. And at that point, I wasn't even like fully into thinking about doing our own PT practice until later on. Fast forward probably like 2 years later, like Tami was saying, we're just networking, trying to find a place, to do our clinic, and reached out to him. And it was just like a godsend. He was like, dude, I have a 750 square foot place. Now that you mention it, opening up because we're moving to a first floor location, like, do you want that? And you could sublease, and we could refer, each other clients and patients, and it's a great relationship. So, I mean, I could go on and tell you about 100 different stories. And
so real quick, how long did you know Scott before you opened Impact, the first location?
I would say probably about 2 years.
Okay. So that's really important. I want people to realize that. Okay. So 2 years prior, right? You didn't have the name Impact Physical Therapy in your mind.
No,
right?
not at all.
You didn't even know you were going to start Impact, but you made a relationship consciously 2 years earlier because you didn't know, but sometimes things work out. Yeah. And if you didn't set the foundation, right? So I think the biggest mistake I see people make is when they're like, okay, I'm ready to get started. Now I'm going to go say hi to this person. Hopefully he scratches my back. I'll scratch his back. And it's like, whoa, wait a second. That's not how relationships work.
Yeah, right?
It takes a little bit more, right?
It's actually creepy if you're trying to.
Yeah, it's a little. There you go. It's like a guy coming into your classroom and rubbing your leg.
Right. Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah. So
that is creepy.
So anyhow, I did go there. I was going to wait for a perfect opportunity, and it was perfect. All right. So I think that's really important. That part of the reason why I do this podcast, Eric and Tami, is I like to learn. Right. I mean, I'm sitting here interviewing, but I'm also learning the entire time too, because I've gained so much over the past, 55, 60 episodes on just from hearing different people's stories and how they networked. One of them comes to mind is, so on episode 34, we had Jason Beck on. He owns Tier Tactical. You probably know him from the gym as well. He owns Tier Tactical, which is a body armor type business. He has contracts with the military all over the world now. But I remember one of the things he said when he first got started. I mean, he was like sleeping in a hammock and going to the bathroom in a bucket, right? That was his humble beginnings, living in a trailer, like the trailer you tow behind a car that's actually not really a trailer. Gosh. It's where you store stuff,
Right?
Yeah. But he goes, Chris, the biggest takeaway I can give your audience is you never know who the smallest person is to affect your business the most. And so I thought about that for a second. And right when you said that, it hit me. I'm like, exactly. Scott, you weren't trying to build a business relationship with 2 years earlier.
Right.
Now you guys are referring people to each other. You're next door to each other. I mean, you're basically almost in business together because you're seeing each other every day.
Sure.
I mean, that's huge, right?
Hey.
And if you wouldn't have been building that relationship earlier. So I guess the takeaway there is relationships are key, right?
Absolutely.
The richest people interviewed, there's a book called Rich Habits. We had the author on the podcast as well. He says that the richest people that he's interviewed, some of the wealthiest people in America, one of the things they have in common is they view relationships as their currency. So not actually paying with money,
right.
It's paying with relationships. Relationships are their goal.
Sure.
And this is just more proof to back up that statement is, here you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and the relationships that we've made at Impact have been just unbelievable too
Share
as
the
well.
Story, Share the story about the city of Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that relationship.
Yeah, so 2 jobs ago, a wonderful girl who was like a technician, so like an assistant, and she was all excited. I'm going to apply to PT school soon, and was just a great employee and a great friend of mine. And it was probably a couple years later, she was applying to physical therapy school and said, hey, Eric, you were just a great mentor in my life. Could you write a letter of recommendation for me because I'm trying to get into school? I said, absolutely, Courtney, I would love to. Like, you're such a great person, and just you'd be a great person for the physical therapy world. So I wrote her a letter of recommendation, and then once she got in, it was like a year and a half later or 2 years later, she's in her clinical rotations, right? And so that means you go out and you practice in the field of physical therapy, and she's down at the city of Phoenix, where all the police and firemen, are there, and when they get injured, and a head person there that she's working with just loves her, and they have a great relationship. And she was like, hey, listen, you got to meet my buddy Eric. He's a physical therapist, and his wife Tami, and they have a clinic up in the Northwest Valley, and I know there's a bunch of police and firemen that like live and work up there. Like, you have to meet them. So same thing, just networking. She introduced me to this lady, and now we get all these police and firemen. We have a great contract with them, and it just the same thing. It all goes back, to me having a great relationship with her and just investing time into her and her well-being, and now we have this awesome relationship with the city of Phoenix, which again, 2 years ago, I mean, that wasn't even at all close to thinking about impact or anything like that. So it's been pretty amazing just to have those opportunities.
So I think about, you talk to a lot of business owners, and marketing is one of their biggest expenses, right? They have a wonderful product, but how do they get that out there, right? And so this holds true again. Relationships are like currency, because now you are marketing through your networking skills and your relationship building skills. Because if marketing is such a huge expense, and now you have people out there promoting your business for you. And so one of the things that, locally here in the Valley that I've seen is, people promote you guys more so than I would say every physical therapy on the block, right? Because when you go there, you're a number, you're in and out, and your insurance is taking care of it, and there's no relationship. When you walk in, there's a smile, and hey, Chris, how's Andrea doing? How are the kids? And then you feel like, oh, maybe they just know me. And then the next person walks in, it's like, hey, Matt, how's your elbow?
Right.
Wow, he knows. Everybody that comes in, you have this relationship.
Totally.
With. So then we're going out there, right? Me and all these other people are going out there. It's like without getting paid, we want to promote you, right?
Right.
And so I still think the best marketing out there is word of mouth. And the only way to get word of mouth marketing is by providing a ton of value and making people feel important.
Totally agree.
So kudos to you, and then obviously having results, that falls in the value. But yeah. On a side note, you guys hooked me up with a cupping set.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you did. So I'm always cupping myself. I think it's so cool.
It helps a ton.
It helps a ton.
Yeah.
And
better than ibuprofen.
It is. It's cool. It's cool. It's different. Yeah. So cupping is where you put these suction cups on, and
just say Michael Phelps. Most people know Michael Phelps.
There you go.
Michael Phelps.
Okay. So I felt like Michael Phelps. I was cupping my back. Yeah. So side note here for those listening, if you guys are into cupping, the cupping sets are not very expensive.
No.
So how much are they, Eric?
Like about $50.
Okay. Yeah. $50. Where can you find them?
You can find them on Amazon.
Okay. So I think that's Amazon or whatever.
Come by at Impact.
Okay. That's where I got mine at Impact. So I got this cupping set, and I remember I was like, told Andrea, I'm like, hey, my back's a little, I don't want to take ibuprofen, put this cupping on there. So she, puts all these cupping on me. Well, stupid me, I forgot that the next day we were going to a pool party with like 50 people.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm walking around, I forget I have these purple circles on my back.
Hilarious.
And I probably answered 54 questions about, hey, what's on the marks? But you know what it turned into? It turned into marketing for you guys.
Right.
Good job.
Everybody's getting cupping. Right.
I cup. And they're like, what do you cup at? I'm like, I cup and Impact Physical Therapy. Why? Because they're really good. And I'm like, this was a genius ploy on your ploy.
Good job.
Handing me or selling me the cupping set. So, but yeah, I still use them. I think they're awesome. I don't know.
Now we put our sticker on it, just so you know. I don't think we put it on there.
What you need to do is we got to create some kind of thing in the cupping set so when it pulls the skin through, it leaves impact.
That's
like
awesome.
A temporary tattoo.
Just a little temporary tattoo. If you guys can develop that, I think you have another marketing strategy there. So, okay. So we talked about growing the business. Now, we've been talking about winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. Winning's fun. But in every business that I've looked at, every business owner that I've talked to, it's not always unicorns and rainbows, right? There are some challenges. So would you be willing to share some of those challenges that you guys have faced? Because I think that's really, really important because we're sitting here listening going, this sounds wonderful. Yeah. You just flip the switch and business works. What were some of the obstacles that you guys have faced?
I'll start first and then I'll let Tami kind of share too. But I think there's just so much that actually goes into starting a business that sometimes you don't, and running it that you don't really think of. Like, yeah, we do physical therapy and we're going to do it a great way. And then you're like, oh, we got to have the accounting part and the budget and supplies and payroll and oh wait, are we going to do a W-2 or are we going to be an LLC S Corp or what? So there's all these details and steps and we got to get a city license and a state board license. And I think that was probably the initial thing, making sure that we actually go through all those check boxes and making sure that we're doing those things. And we're definitely not experts in business, especially at the beginning. Now we're, I would say, much better. But you spend your whole life learning about anatomy and physiology and the human body, and then all of a sudden now you're trying to run a business, and so you've learned for 6 months to a year before you start, and now you're a business owner. So there's a lot to learn, but I think just like anything, you just learn along the way. And I think the most important thing for us was committing. But I don't know. I mean, there's just so many different things that I could go into, but finances was one. We were talking about that and how we financed or how we started up Impact. And so we looked in a lot of different options. Do we do an SBA loan?
So for our listeners, define what's an SBA loan.
So it's a small business loan. It's several banks. I mean, a lot of banks have them. You just fill out an application, which is, by the way, super horrendous and part of the economy when it crashed. They're not handing out loans like they used to as much. So there was a pretty rigorous application and interview and all these different kinds of things. And we were just like, man, this is like unbelievable. Like, we're not asking for $1 million, like, just $20,000 or $70,000, but still, like, so anyways, there's this long rigmarole. Finally, like, we actually leveraged Tami's credit card because the percentage was so low. What was it again?
It's kind of a hard story. Like, we really wanted to do it. We weren't quite sure financing wise how we were going to do it. We thought like we just had to get a loan. Like, that just really, like, when we looked at what we needed as far as quote unquote supplies to run the business and really payroll, we thought we had to have a loan, and we thought we had to have so much amount of money to make sure we're covered. And we actually got denied because of how much student loan debt we have. So I'd say that sucked because we were just like, God, we just spent probably 3 months with this bank going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But we were just like, you know what? We really want to do this. Like, we know we can be successful. We know we can help people out. And I had a credit card from my freshman year of college, when you're sitting on the lawn of the U of A mall and some random credit card person comes up and is like, yeah, you want to do this? I was like, I don't know. Sure. So
you get a free shirt.
Yeah, I hate t-shirts, but it was like a APR of 6.9%. And
which is lower than your SBA.
It's lower than almost any loan out there that you can get besides a home improvement loan. We'd barely used it, so we had...
The credit was available.
So we're like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We figured out how much our payments would be.
Yeah.
And then I think we got to a point where we needed more money. And I'd never done that before. Called a credit card company and been like, hey, can we have an increase in the credit limit? So we did that. And that was we basically loaned ourselves money. And we still haven't been there. So I think that was a hard learning lesson to go through in general. And then I think one of the other ones that stands out to me is we were shelling out too much money in marketing. Mm-hmm. And we got to the point where we had $2,000 in our business account. And we were like, okay, we're paying someone else approximately $3,000 a month, yet we're not paying ourselves. What are we doing right now?
The marketing agent's making more than we are.
Right. And it's hard because you build relationships with the people that are involved with your company. And so that was a really hard thing to go through and a really hard lesson for us to really be forthright in what we expect and what we need and what's going to happen if we're not meeting those needs, and to let her go. But when we did, it was like we just ramped back up and been doing pretty well up until that point. So it was that was our valley, and then we kind of started to climb back out again.
Hey guys, Chris Peach here. Hey, did you know Andrew and I were once living paycheck to paycheck and we had racked up $52,000 in consumer debt in only 4 years of marriage? Yeah, we were normal until we hit rock bottom. You see, since that moment, we decided to stop borrowing money, stop using credit cards, pay with cash, and then we did the unthinkable and we paid off $52,000 in only 7 months. Sounds crazy, right? Well, maybe not as crazy as working nonstop to send all of our money to the bank in the form of payments. Here's the deal. I'm hosting a free workshop where I share our story and I show you the same step-by-step method to going from broke to debt-free and then on to building wealth. So head on over to moneypeach.com/workshop to grab your spot in this free online training that I promise you are going to absolutely love. Once again, that's moneypeach.com/workshop. So I want to go back a little bit. So I'm, the Money Peach podcast. We obviously talk about money and debt.
Money.
And so I am, me, I'm always telling people like, no debt.
I know.
And I'm glad you talked about
that. Did a lot of debt.
I know. I'm glad we talked about this. To me, I look at debt as, that's scary, right?
Yep.
The majority of people that email me, that we reach out to on social media, that we hear from, I mean, they're deeply in debt, paycheck to paycheck. They don't have $1,000 in the bank, and they're freaking out. Right?
Yeah.
They're just like, this is tough, right? My life is not going the way I had planned, and I can't do anything. I'm stuck in between this rock and a hard spot called debt. Right. So I pounded away that debt is dumb. Debt. You need to get rid of it forever, forever.
Yep.
And this is the way that I believe for the longest time. I don't know, maybe a year ago, we had somebody on the podcast talk about taking out a loan, and I was like, oh my God, that's the craziest thing ever.
Do it. That's the anti-word. You're not allowed to say it on Peach Podcast.
And then, like 6 months later, somebody else has mentioned it. And I feel like my heart has softened to not debt, but to opportunity.
Well, and risk. I think it's risk to, really, we want to be able to pay off our debt. But the debt we took in school, I'd say we were both pretty uneducated, and we just took out a lot of loans, and PT school is expensive. A lot of people go to a private PT school, which we both did. It was almost like you keep going on this paycheck, this nice paycheck, like you said, or we take a risk and we see if we're going to.
So, I mean, PT school, from what I've talked to, $70,000 to $100,000. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, but that's just in tuition.
Yes.
So then you take out more money to actually be able to live during PT school. So
people are graduating PT schools coming out.
So I graduated 120. He graduated 160.
Okay, 120, 160. Just out of curiosity, what kind of income do you generate on average, would you say, coming out of PT school?
So nowadays, probably starting salary is between $65,000 and $75,000 for a PT.
Okay, so we're talking going in on average 130, 150.
Yep.
And then income to where?
About 65, 70.
Okay, so 65, 70. So there's a gap. There's a huge gap there.
Yep.
And okay, so you have the golden handcuffs on when you get hired then, because you have that steady paycheck.
Yep.
You're able to make those payments, and you think, okay, we're just going to wait it out.
Totally.
And your only strategy now is, if you go that route, is time.
It is. And, I think we had you on our podcast because I think a lot of PTs don't know what to do. Like, how do I pay this off? What choices do I make? Like, how do I go about this? And unfortunately, we weren't given a lot of choices. And so we were kind of locked into what our repayment is. And to be honest, before we decided to have business, we were both on a 10-year repayment plan. We would have had both of our loans paid off, but we were paying aggressively, like probably about $3,000 a month towards our student loans.
Wow. You got to think about what's a normal mortgage out there. So you're doing $3,000 a month.
Yeah. So that's kind of our kidding. Like, we own a house, and then he owns a house, and then I own a house, but they're both called student loans, So, but that was also another part of our agreement, is we had some credit card debt, and that we agreed to each other, like, we're paying totally off the credit card debt before we take the risk of opening a business. So we paid that off. We were able to put our loans on forbearance for the year that we started our business. So that helped us kind of alleviate some of that. And
for those of us listening, forbearance meaning you're going to put off paying on them.
Yeah, you still have to pay interest, but you don't have to make your full payment. So we did that, and then I actually teach a continuing education course, like a weekend course. So I picked up 12 of those that first year that we started. And so that brought in an extra like $24,000 for us. So
a year.
Yep. So we did a lot to kind of try to.
You were hustling.
Yeah, we were hustling.
You were working hard. So I think the takeaway there is debt is dumb, but there's a but. Is what is your debt going towards? Is it going towards clothes? Is it going towards cars?
You're right.
Is it going towards things that bring zero value or go down in value? Or are you leveraging money now so you can grow more money later?
Yeah.
So I was meeting with a guy earlier today before we had this interview, and we were talking about this very thing. And he gave me this analogy. He said, Chris, you are a seed. Okay? You are a seed, and you need water to grow, right? And you can wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And in Arizona, if you're in Oregon, you're going to get water tomorrow. But in Arizona, right? Because we live in Arizona, he goes, it might rain next month. and he goes, and then it might rain the next month after that.
Yeah.
So his point was, there's a risk. You can go over here and you can leverage some money. Now, remember, you're leveraging money to help grow your business, to help, invest in the market, whatever it might be. Yeah. He goes, you're not leveraging your money to go buy clothes.
Right.
And he goes, and I think, in the very beginning, when people are completely afraid, shocked, overwhelmed, in debt, don't know where to turn, the message that is going to be most receptive to them is debt across the board is completely stupid. You should get rid of it completely. But is it really fair to tell people that, no, Tami, you shouldn't have leveraged any money to grow your business. You should have just saved up cash because you guys would have been 50 and starting Impact.
Yeah, totally. Right.
So let's be realistic,
well,
right?
and then who's going to have the energy? You know what I mean? Then you've given yourself to your competitors for that long or another company, and taking a risk at 50 versus your early 30s is a little bit different. So
you have Impact Physical Therapy. We'll call it location 1. Business is growing, obviously, because you just opened up Physical Therapy Impact Physical Therapy number 2.
Yep.
So you double. That's growth is awesome. I love that. One of the things I really, really like, though, that we've been talking about kind of behind the scenes is the opportunity you're seeing beyond the walls of Impact. I want you to talk about that because I think that is super cool, especially in your niche.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll let Tami.
Which one am I talking about? We have a lot of niches. So
okay, so let's go back one step here. Okay, because
I don't know if we're talking about Institute.
We're a husband and wife team here, right? So I was talking to Eric about this. I use this analogy a lot. We read the same books because he understood what I was talking about. But the whole Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Walt Disney, Roy Disney. So there's two people, inside this business, and most businesses. Most very, very highly successful businesses have two people in them. And there's one that we all know of. And there's the one that we sort of know of in the background, right? This is from me from the outside looking in. I feel like Eric, when I get the text messages and the calls, I feel like they're coming from Eric, right? Because they are.
Yep.
Tell me, how does that work out, that relationship work out? Husband and wife, who is out front? Who's the Walt Disney, right? And then who is the behind the scenes kind of the man behind the curtain pushing the buttons?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely the face of Impact. And I think everybody and the voice, hey, come to Impact Physical Therapy. Yeah. No. And I think everybody looks to me when they think of Impact, but I think Tami is just such an instrumental role in the success of our business. And so many times we've come home at night and we talk about it, and we always talk about. It's funny because as we have struggles in our business, it's usually because we are not communicating, her and I, and so. We always talk about, hey, listen, like we need to schedule an appointment on every Monday or every Friday or even both. Because business decisions that are made together, man, have like tremendously made a great impact. From the day-to-day stuff, it's usually me, but from big business decisions, we bounce things off each other. And like you were saying, who's the visionary and who's the worker or the person? And I would say, even though I'm the face, I would definitely think that Tami's got more of the big ideas, big dreamer, more of the Walt Disney, even though she's not necessarily always the face. And then I just get stuff done. That's usually mine. And so I think it's a good balance because she's like, what about this? We're going to do all these things. And then I kind of bring her down to earth. And then sometimes when I'm stuck in the grind, she always comes up with like pie in the sky, like great ideas. And so I think we do. We definitely complement each other really well. I think that, just the integrator and the dreamer, as both of us kind of play those different roles, I think it's been, is really helpful. And the other day we talked about having coaching, meetings for the employees, and, I'm scheduling those with them, and she's like, hey, I'm going to be your coach and help you. And that's actually helped a lot, as a business owner, and she's helped grow a business in the past for corporate America. So she has that kind of great knowledge, and especially with employee relations, because as you grow, you have more employees. And when you have more employees, a lot of times that brings a whole nother subset of problems and issues, more so than just the operation. So she's really, really good at employee interaction and just guidance and growth, and Impact definitely would not be where it is today without Tami, but also the employees that are in our company, and our investment into them. And as we add more staff and people and PTs, just investing in them is what makes us great. It's not just us. We just help mentor them and grow the business that way. But it's finding really good people and people that are passionate about what we do, people that are willing to go hustle and work hard, not only for themselves, but just for a greater good. And definitely just try to set out times through the week where we always meet. In fact, right before you came, it was just one of our team meetings. And every time we do that, we just feel like we accelerate and grow that much more. So,
question I have for you guys is, okay, husband and wife team own the business together. You're his coach, right? Yep. So is there ever a time you guys get to turn it off? Like where you're not Impact Physical Therapy and you're just Tami and Eric? Or is it nonstop because you guys are doing everything together?
Well, I think, I think a little bit of both, honestly. I think that we have used our relationship with the business as a good point of us always talking to each other. I think if you think about when relationships aren't working, it's because people aren't talking, right? Or they're not sharing how they're feeling or about their day or that kind of thing. So it's nice to have a platform sometimes to have that, like, hey, how did this go? And what happened with this? And tell me how this went and how you felt about that. So I think that's good. But I also do think it's good that I have another job, so that I'm actually at school in my own world. And so now Eric has things that he can talk to me about that way. And we just have our kind of separate lives that way. And then we have our life together with the kids. One thing we did start doing is last year we just saved cash, like any kind of extra cash we did. We put it in a separate fund totally. And we went to Cancun for a week, just our immediate family. So Eric, myself, and the kids. And that was probably one of the best things we did. So we went in April, and that's when we probably turned off the most, was just, we were there. It was adventurous. It was fun. It was relaxing. So we talk about always having our next vacation kind of booked as a way for us to have something to look forward to and do that. What you just said is, how do you unplug from the business? So
I like that. Another thing that I like you guys have done here that I have not seen in the physical therapy world much, very, very little, and I think you guys are kind of cutting edge on this, is you guys are kind of breaking down the walls of Impact only being inside these four walls.
Yeah.
Here. So we're here in Phoenix, Arizona. And so what if I'm on a train in Boston, or I'm jogging in Miami, or maybe I'm in Australia listening to this?
Yeah.
How, that's one thing I look at is I think it's really cool is now you're keeping those people in mind as well. Kind of share your ideas or what you're actually doing to reach beyond the walls of Impact, right? We can't hop on a plane and go to Phoenix, Arizona from all over the world. So how are you reaching them?
Well, it's funny. We actually do have people that do that. So just keep that in mind.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we treated a lady that sticks out to me. I think she was from South Africa and found us on the internet, basically, probably because we do so many videos. We do a lot of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're all across the board. Found us. She was visiting here and purposely wanted to come in to get treatment here.
No way.
Yeah.
You got a lady in South Africa come to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
never mind.
So just like you said, it's so I think. And you know this too. I think you do such a good job of building relationships in general. You and Andrea both, you guys are have that gift of gab and gift of
talk too much.
Yeah, you talk a lot, but also just that heartfelt, genuine conversation. I think you guys are both very good at that. And I think Eric and you'll also see Dr. Dave Balzer on videos and things like that is. Let's just get out there.
So you have videos online that people can
Oh my gosh, all over the place. So, and I think you'll attach that. It's you can follow us. You can find Impact Physical Therapy, but you can also find the Impact Institute. So that's a whole another avenue that we're starting in is the education side. So education for movement professionals. So that could be a physical therapist, occupational therapist, athletic trainer, personal trainer, whoever. So we're going to offer we offer an exercise course online people can take. We do live courses. So we've done cupping courses and taping courses and things like that. We've done corporate wellness events and education that way. So we had someone come in, this was probably 8 months ago, and they were like, oh my gosh, I thought you were way bigger. Because Chris knows we're in a 700 square foot environment. We are connected with Underground, which is a big gym, but because you're all over Facebook, literally, they see Eric all almost every day on Facebook. So it's just that I took that away. I worked at a big hospital system here in the Valley, and the president of the system, one of his main things was visibility. If you really want to be a good leader, you have to be visible. you can only be so visible with being in a 700 square foot space, but with social media and with even the connections you make and the things you choose to do as far as your social or your exercise, that's all visibility, right? So that's been a goal of ours. Like, we have to be visible as much as we can in as many aspects as we can to really bring people into our enterprise.
You can have the greatest product in the world, but if people don't know about it, it might as well not exist.
Exactly.
You know?
Absolutely.
So tell me about some of your marketing tools that you use. I'm a recipient of them, and I think they're amazing. I think just share those, because I've actually gotten ideas for my own business with some of the marketing tools you use. So like, tell me about the voice calls, the text messaging stuff you use, and the Facebook. How are you becoming as visible as possible right now?
Yeah, I think the nice thing is we learn a lot from our patients. So other patients that we've treated are business owners, so you get ideas from them, which is big. I got to give a shout out to George Lawton and Lucas Frabicki, because both of them I know very well, and they also have some great marketing tools that have helped
George
me.
was episode 42 of the podcast.
All right,
so
perfect.
Very ironic.
So, and both go to CrossFit in India. So anyways, just learning from my patients and just learning different ways. But different marketing strategies we've done is definitely, like Tami said, awareness. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Just depends on where your demographics, who you're trying to target, right? Snapchat's going to be probably younger demographics, whereas Facebook, might be, older. The nice thing is for the most part, it's free, and it's a great way, unless you're doing ads, to get yourself out there. I mean, how much does it really cost, besides a little time, to do a 30-second video? A big part of our business, too, is educational-based marketing, and I think that's really important, especially for small business owners out there, is that we don't want to just go out there and say, hey, we're Impact, choose us, we're awesome because we're great PTs. Most people are like, well, I don't really care. But if we go out and take the approach of, hey, listen, we have solutions to fix your problems, in the sense of, here's a bunch of stretches. Here's 5 ways to stretch your hip flexors. Here's 10 ways to help your back pain. Here's 3 ways to help your plantar fasciitis, or whatever ways, in downloadable guides that we have on Facebook and on our website. So we have, information that patients or clients that are, even not in the state that needs information. We have that at impactptaz.com. So downloadable guides. And then for our current patients, that's really important too. And I don't remember who told me this, but we spend so much time trying to make new leads, when a lot of times we just need to nurture those past patients and develop and continue to develop those relationships, because that's like a gold mine. They're going to tell people they already believe in you. So
You at the pool party.
Yeah, like you at the pool party. So a big part of that is nurturing our past patients. So we do that through email marketing. We do that through text messaging. So we'll text message people different deals, or our open clinics that are on Monday. The girls also do like individual, like personalized text messages or personalized emails to past patients to check on them. Hey, Chris, how's your giddy up? Hope you're doing good. Probably time to get in now. You've done, CrossFit for the last 6 months or whatever. So that's important. We just been playing around with, voice calls. So you probably got that on Saturday. Hey, this is Eric. Just wanted to check on you and hope everything's going well. And so, yeah, a lot of different ways. A lot of people just receive information differently through text, or they like to read. They like to hear things. So we try to hit them different ways, trying to be cost effective. But all of it is just really being active. I mean, I can't tell you more than that. It's taking action and doing it. So that might send a text message out, and then I'm going to do a Facebook Live because it's going to take 1 minute. And then I'm going to write a blog this weekend. And then I'm going to go do an event at a CrossFit gym. So all of it is just time, energy, putting effort in, hustling, working harder than your competition, getting your name out there, making as many contacts as you can, believing in what you're doing, and things will just grow, and they'll grow organically like that. And they start to leave reviews. So we have some amazing reviews. And like you said, creating these avid fans now that go out and tell people with just, no cue, they'll just start talking about us. So that starts to build on itself. And I think that's really important, especially for the cold leads that are kind of unsure. They can look at our Google page or our Yelp reviews and say, wow, hey, they are pretty good based on all these nice things that other people are saying. So, yeah, I don't know if that helped, but a lot of different...
help. So one of the things, and so you're playing into what I've been learning over the last year from interviewing people, but kind of the common theme I've heard is to take somebody who doesn't know you, call them cold audience. They don't know you, they've never heard of you. And move them to warm, where they know the name Impact, right? They didn't come and see you. Just to get them from cold to warm takes on average, they say 5 to 7 interactions. So where do you create those 5 to 7 interactions? You do a video on Facebook.
Right.
You do something on Instagram. You do a blog post. You give them a free guide. You do a podcast.
You got it.
You just keep giving them more value. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right? There's that whole cliche.
I like that. Yeah.
So, so you do that 5 to 7 times. And then I've learned, okay, to go from warm market to actually buying your service or product is another 5 to 7 touches. So you have somebody that knows you now on your email list or,
Sure.
likes your Facebook page. It's 5 to 7 times. And then they come in. Now, one of the things that I'm learning from talking to my business coach and then talking to other people who are, high level producers out there is you hit the nail on the head. Your biggest fans are already in your circle. So I think a lot of times we think we got to go market to all the cold audience out there. And it's like, wait a second, you got people in your backyard here that want to go out and put cupping all over their back, go to a pool party and say, look at me, I went to Impact,
Right.
So I think that's important that, if you're creating a business and you get your one customer, right? Your first customer, you said when you were here and you're like, oh my gosh, I got one table and everything's from underground, right? And you have that one person, that's all it takes. You get that one person, you treat them like they're the most important person in the world. I promise you, they're going to go tell 10 friends. And out of those 10 friends, one's going to come in. And that person's going to go tell 10 friends.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're like, I don't need my side hustle job anymore because Impact over
You got
here
it, man.
is now my full-time job.
You got it.
I think that's awesome. Well, I took an hour of your time. You probably have patients out the door right now that are mad at me for, taking up your time, but I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Second husband and wife team. Episode 50 was CrossFit Incendia, where we met.
Yeah.
Our second husband and wife team to come on the show, and very unique in how you have, your full-time here, your part-time, or not part-time, you have your full-time job, how you make it work. But I mean, it has been super cool to see in 2 years' time how we were doing wall balls at the gym.
Yeah.
And you told me that you had this idea that I might start this, physical therapy. And now 2 years later, you have 2 locations. You go around town, people are wearing your shirts. They're marketing for you. I wear your shirt all the time.
Right.
And people are cupping and telling people, about you. And so Impact is no longer a new thing. Impact is people know about it. People are like, and people in South Africa know about it. Right.
I love that.
That's what's cool.
Yeah.
So where can we find out more? We're going to put everything in the show notes, but if people want to go right now, where can we find out more about Impact Physical Therapy?
So we have a website, impactptaz.com. Okay. So a lot of resources on there to find out where we're at. We also have a Facebook page and Instagram. If you just Facebook, I think it's peoriaphysical.therapy.com or Peoria Physical Therapy.
Okay.
Through
put
Facebook.
Links, all links will be in the show notes.
We also have a YouTube station too as well. So we put a bunch of videos on YouTube.
That's where all your free stuff's at, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can go ahead.
Tons of free stuff. In fact, majority of stuff is free. Okay. So if you're having back issues out there and you're wanting to get off pain meds or you want to prevent surgery, highly suggest looking at a lot of our stuff that we're putting out there. I think it's really important. You can learn a lot of good suggestions. And honestly, if you can't come see us, go see a physical therapist. I mean, we're big advocates in our field and we understand that not everybody can come to Impact in Scottsdale or Glendale, but go find a good physical therapist and use the resources that we have. And please reach out to us. We can help you in any way. We just want to help that many more people and just avoid getting surgeries and having costly medications that they're taking every day and be able to just live life, be active and have fun. And life's short, man.
You have a podcast as well that we can listen to about different things on
Totally. Yeah. So we have another podcast. It's on iTunes. Okay. It's called The Impact Institute.
Okay.
And it's for all movement professionals and just people that just love to learn about not necessarily even physical therapy, but just movement, health, and wellness. And we have some great guests that have been on there. You've been on there talking about paying down student loan debt and strategies for that. So we have a blog, which is also on our website. Anything else? Instagram.
All right. Yeah. I love it. So you guys are out there 5 to 7 times from cold to warm.
Trying.
5 to 7 times from warm to hot.
Yep.
And then take those hot people and make them feel like gold.
Right.
All right. We're going to create a meme for that.
Love it.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was fun.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
And just like that, we wrap up another amazing episode of the Money Peach podcast. All the show notes, the links, anything that Tami, Eric, and I talked about in the show, we found over at moneypeach.com/session58. That's moneypeach.com/session58. Special thanks goes out to my producer, Steve Stewart, my assistant, Kayla Sloan. Without them, this show would not be possible. Stay tuned. Next week, we're bringing on somebody that picks up trash for a living and makes 6 figures a year doing it. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you guys same time, same place with another amazing episode of the Money Peach podcast. Take care.
Da-ba-doom, boom, da-ba-doom,